Hey.
We're here with your company, Sonicstate, and you've got some new stuff. And
I got a bunch of new stuff, yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at it.
Okay, well, first of all, we have about 5 prototypes that we're showing. As you know, the Energy Percussion came out, so that's not a prototype, but that was released last month. Percussion synth, a take on the bass drum, but going into snare drum, clap, wave folder sounds, bass and leads. It makes a good pair with the bass drum. But we're especially showing modules that we have planned to come up this year. This is the Muton. This is an 8-channel analog cascading summing mixer, and with soft mutes on each channel, so you don't get the pops and clicks. CV control, it's 8 discrete VCAs, so it has like a nice warm analog sound to it.
With the mute switches, is that kind of like an on-off VCA sort of?
Yeah. So on this prototype, the CV is just controlling the muting, but on the final version, you'll be able to control the VCAs independently, and the mutes will actually be a master, so you can turn that channel on or off despite what kind of CV you have patched in there. So if you put a gate in there, it'll mute and unmute without popping and clicking, which is nice. Or you can use an LFO or an envelope and then just mute the channel. So the way that this works is if you have nothing patched into the previous channels, when you patch into the following channel, you get a sum of those channels. So you can do different subgroups of mixes on the fly. Over here we have it's a dual 1-to-4 multiple. Nothing too fancy, but we use some better grade op amps. Try to make it so that you can patch out you can actually mult these mults and spread out over a large amount of modules without any voltage drop. This is the Detector X. So the Detector X is an envelope follower and a gate extractor and a rectifier. We tried to add a lot of versatility with the envelope follower, so you have 3 different frequency bands that you can choose from. You have a gain input up to 27 dB of gain, and you have a final smoothing filter to smooth out any of the ripples despite what frequency range you're in. So you have a lot of options in getting the kind of envelopes you want out of your audio. There's a through jack, so you can patch your audio out to a filter that you want to control with the envelope that comes out of it. And there's also a gate extractor with 3 different voltage range modes. You can even put a line input, 5 volts or 10 volts. And that's really nice, so you can extract beats from other audio sources, or do comparator type stuff, make weird pulses and pulse width modulation. And there's a threshold control voltage input as well. Let's see.
So when are these kind of hoping to be ready?
Like them. I mean, they're not all going to come out at once, but I'd like for them to start being released this spring.
Excellent. And I'm guessing price point is kind of to be confirmed, right?
Right. Price point will be confirmed. It's going to be around $79 for the clone, $179 for the Detector X. Muton will be around $250. And then down here we have the 0-point oscillator, where I came up with a new way to do analog through 0 FM, and you can actually do linear through 0, exponential, or both at the same time. And a really cool feature of this new design is that you can vary the crossover point, or 0 point, that the through 0 modulation happens. And what you end up getting is a really nice tonal control over the sound. I'll do a demo of that for you so you can hear that. And last but not least, we're showing the latest prototype of the Bantam semi-modular synth. It's very fully featured. You have a MIDI to CV control, 2 main oscillators, a mod oscillator that you can use as a 3rd oscillator, mixer where you can have external inputs, noise, waveform selections from the oscillators, a polyvox filter with low pass, band pass, and bypass modes, voltage controlled resonance, CV, a voltage, sorry, it's not voltage controlled, an ADSR with 3 ranges and 3 modes, a voltage controlled slope with 3 ranges and 3 modes, a VCA with 3 harmonics controls where you have an overdrive, a wave folder, and nuke, which is a combination between overdrive and wave folder. You get really cool kind of like pulse width modulation happening, and then a voltage controlled delay.
So yeah, can we hear a bit of the banter?
Yeah, right now this is just we're just hearing some sawtooth waves going into Polyvox filter, which is being modulated by the ADSR, and the slope is controlling the VCA. Overdrive. We're getting a little bit of a delay. Turn the delay back on. Actually underclock the delay. And we have these 3 tone controls. Underclocking the delay gives you much more of a delay time, but you get a little bit of noise, so the filtering smooth that noise out. It softens the delay, but you can actually get much longer delay times out of it than is normally possible with this chip. And I guess the last feature to show on this is it has also has a built-in sample and hold, and which is normalized to the noise, which you can access via the mixer, but you can also output from this jack, and that goes into the sample input, and the modulator square is normalized into the clock in, so you have a sample and hold as well.
So is it only going to be sold as a Eurorack module, or are you going to be
actually
doing it as
this is a prototype case that we're going to be using. This is basically just a bare bones case which will have panels on it. It'll have a line output, a power switch, and its own power source. And we designed this case so that it could actually fit into a 2-tier or a 3-tier Moog bracket kit. So you can, if you have a mother, like you can slap this in, and between the 2 of those, like you should have a pretty powerful synthesizer.
And when are you kind of hoping to get it done?
Well, I want to do one more round of prototyping just to make sure everything's perfect, but you know, this is really kind of slated to be in production this year, so I'm hoping that by the end of the year we'll have these available.
And I noticed there's a mini TV interface as well.
Right.
So is that just will that be DIN plug?
No, it's going to be a stereo to the stereo to MIDI adapters, which is much easier. It takes up less space. The MIDI is really interesting because there will be monophonic mode, but there's also a paraphonic mode. So you'll be able to control the 2 main oscillators at the same time with the keyboard, but there's only a single VCF and VCA. So it adds some interesting possibilities.
So yeah, let's have a listen to the 0-point oscillator.
Let's do that. Let's see. So this is just a sine wave, and let's see. We'll take. So this will be linear through 0. Sorry. So what we were just listening to was some linear through 0 modulation, and I was varying the 0 point. So we'll do that again with the exponential. So we also have these, there are 2 wave scanners. These are analog wave scanners that scan between the basic waveforms. And that's voltage controlled scanning that you can do, so you can kind of like a stereo image happening. But they also, both go into the morph control. So depending on what in-between waveforms you have set here, you can more accurately morph between those two waveforms. The 0 point control is really cool because it's dependent on your depth of modulation. So if I don't have my modulation depth turned all the way up, say I have it down a little bit, when I scan through the 0 point, when you can actually morph between regular FM and the through zero modulation. So it's really capable of producing some much more complex FM tones than you normally get out of even a through zero oscillator.
Excellent. And again, is that hoping to be out this year or? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.